Hi, everybody. Well, I know it's been about almost 3 weeks since I have shot a video talking about anything at all. Or, about, Memorial Day, Tony, me, what's going on with my book, what's going on with Tony, the GoFundMe page, or anything like that. And seeing that it's been 3 weeks, well, I figure at this point, I may as well get on here and say something because y'all are probably wondering at this point, maybe, Then again, I'm beginning to think that nobody really cares ever since, the worst of it was over last month at the beginning, about this time last month. The beginning of May. Well, anyway, I figure for those of you that actually care or being morbidly curious or what have you at this point, I feel like, I have some stuff I want to say. And so whether you want to hear it or not, I want at least, talk about what's going on. I'll first start by saying this. Fair warning. I am going to talk about some pretty gross stuff, and I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or your mom or your dad or your goat because you can't emotionally handle the gross nature of some of the stuff that I have to talk about, because I do have some rather icky things I need to talk about here that happened in the last week. And y'all just have to deal with it. All right. If you haven't talked to me or to Tony, lately, well, here's what's happened. Okay. I know I shot a video on May 28th talking about, what all happened, up till then. Okay, well, right now it's June 13th. For like another, 13 minutes? It's 11:47 p.m. right now on June 13th, 2023. Well, okay, here's what happened in basically the 3 weeks, since I shot that last video talking about what's up with Tony. Okay, well, Tony went to, it's called Select Specialty Hospital. It's a hospital inside a hospital, basically. It's a hospital, and I'm not kidding. It sounds like I'm making this up, but it really is. It's a rehab hospital is what it is, inside a hospital. And it's in I call it St. Luke's, but it's St. Elizabeth up in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Well, Tony was there, for like about 3 weeks. And on Sunday, on June 11th, he finished up his last round of antibiotics. So that's part of the reason why they kept him in the hospital, is because they wanted to make absolutely sure that he got 100% of his antibiotics in his system, completely taken, and what have you. So that way, they can make sure that it got the sickness that he came in with back when this shit show all started back in April, had completely gotten kicked out of his system. As far as I know, it probably has. I mean, because he was getting rather cheeky with me. He was getting rather cheeky with me. Like the end of May, beginning of June. Well, part of the reason why I didn't shoot anything last week, it was my birthday a week ago today on the 6th. It was a particularly hard day for me. Okay, I'm not going to lie. For 2 reasons. It was hard for me for 2 reasons. And one of them is gross. So I'm going to say this. It's gross. So if you get queasy easy, how at the beginning of this video I said, I'm going to talk about something gross, this would be what it is. Okay, my birthday was last Tuesday on June the 6th. I had a hard day because, I take it back, it wasn't two, it was three reasons. One reason was the fact that it was also would have been my parents' 53rd wedding anniversary last Tuesday. And in case y'all didn't know, Dad died. Dad passed away on the 4th of July almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years next month on the 4th of July. And I would be lying if I said that I didn't miss him. I'd be lying. I missed the man something awful. I mean, I would love to talk to Dad. I would. If my dad was alive and well today, I would be talking to him. I mean, I miss him. I miss talking to him. I miss having that relationship with him. I do. And I'm sure Mom misses him just as much as I do. I mean, it's just, I spent all day, thinking about him and, the fact that it was my birthday, and it's just, and I have to say this, way back in the day when I was a kid, and when I say a kid, I'm talking like 7, 8 years old, I realized that one day my parents were going to die. I mean, that sounds crazy, but, it did. The thought occurred to me when I was 7, 8 years old, because I've only met one other person. I am not joking. I've only met one other person whose birthday is the same day as her parents' wedding anniversary. And, I told her, I mean, this was like after my dad passed away in 2021. I told her, I said, you wait till one of your parents passes and then it changes the color of your birthday. I mean, it has. I mean, and it's just, I spent all day thinking about how much I missed him, The other reason is I wasn't feeling all that hot on my birthday. I mean, I was having, other than the fact that my allergies have been beating my tail. And, just as an aside, right now, like for the last, 2 weeks, there's been that wildfire up there in Canada. It has floated down here to northern Kentucky. And I'll tell you what, on my birthday, I felt like a cat with a hairball. I mean, I was choking to death. I mean, it was bad. I'll take the dry heat and what have you, but I will not take that nasty, I don't know what that was. I mean, it was bad. I'm not going to kid you about it. It was pretty bad. I mean, I just spent most of the time just being like, ugh. The third reason, and this is the part that's disgusting, is the fact that I had a doctor's appointment. And it has nothing to do with me. I mean, other than, me being, feeling icky on my birthday. Well, they decided right about the time that I was at my doctor's appointment on my birthday that they were going to take a bunch of the stitches and the staples and what have you out of Tony's foot. I'm like, I will happily be at my doctor's appointment, when y'all do this, because I don't want to know. I really don't. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to care. I don't care. It's not that I don't love Tony. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, I've seen what his foot looks like in pictures. Trust me, I didn't want to see it. Well, guess what? That is not what happened. My happy butt leaves my doctor's appointment and goes to see Tony. I'm like, I'll go see how he's doing and what have you, and so on and so forth. Well, don't you know that foot not only was not wrapped, the person that was supposed to help remove the rest of the stitches and the staples and and whatnot out of his foot had left for the day, and they didn't bother finish wrapping up his foot. So guess what? I go popping in his room with his friend, who I happened to run into in the lobby of the hospital downstairs, because he was upstairs on the 3rd floor. I'm like, oh my God, y'all could have done this. I'm like, what are y'all trying to do? And I'm like, trying to gross me out or something. I'm like, I don't want this for my birthday. I'm like, oh, I took pictures. Well, I was grossed out. My husband was like, ha ha, you had to see it. And I'm like, after what it looked like back in April, and I'm not going to rehash what it looked like in April. If you want to know what it looked like back in April, go watch the first video on it, because I go into rather, pretty graphic detail in that video what that looked like. I mean, after that, I was like, no, you just no, thank you, no, thank you. I'm like, TMI, man, TMI. They wrapped it up, and I'm like, I had to go get the nurse, and I accidentally told the nurse the wrong shoe size for Tony. Oh, I make Tony's feet sound like he's wearing like a size 50 or something. He doesn't wear size 50, but I mean, he wears, I kept saying to him, Tony, what's your shoe size? Tony, I said, Tony, do you wear, this size or this size? Because I know it was like, he wears, I'm like, Tony, do you wear, a size 13 or 14? Because I knew it was, like a 13, 14 size shoe. I couldn't remember. But it's like I knew it was something in that neighborhood. I knew I was close. And he kept going, what? Huh? What? And I'm like thinking, if I wanted to talk to my late grandmother, I would. Of course, I would need a Ouija board for that. But, nothing against my late grandmother. But, I mean, his hearing has gone to shit. I mean, it has. I mean, it's like, I don't know if we need to, I think, and that's the other problem Tony's having, is the fact that I think an ENT doctor needs to go in there and professionally clean his ears out for free. I would love that. I think Tony would love it if somebody went in there, cleaned his sinuses out, and cleaned out both his ears. Especially professionally cleaned out his ears, because that would help out. It would help him hear a lot better. Well, there's that. Okay, whatever. And they wrapped his foot up. You know what I did to him? This is the funny part. This is just me kind of retaliating against Tony. You know what I did to him? I had enough of him. I got a hold of an ink pen, and just out of pure meanness, it was partially me retaliating against him, and partially because I knew it would drive him crazy. I got a hold of an ink pen, we're talking ink pen, this is ink pen. It wasn't this ink pen, but it was an ink pen. I got a hold of it, and I drew a happy face on his leg. And he's fussing. I also wrote hi in a couple of spots. And I wrote his name on his leg. And Tony's like, quit drawing on me. I'm like, quit writing on me. And I'm like, this is what happens to you when you run your mouth to your wife. I've had enough of you. I'm like, and it's just, I was like, I'm not feeling good. My feet are hurt, like my left foot. I've been feeling like I've been walking on a golf ball with razor blades. And I was, at that point, my foot was just throbbing, and I wasn't in the mood for Tony. I'm like, you need to stop it. Seriously, honey. I'm like, I just cut loose on him, and he was like, stop it. And I'm like, I looked at him and I'm like, actually, you need to stop it, because I'm like, I come here to see you, and, you say something snarky to me, because it's like, you realize your poor wife just went, yuck. I'm like, I didn't need to see that. I was like, I did not want to see what his foot looked like. It was disgusting. Like, they didn't get all the staples and the stitches out. And I just was like, I just don't want to see that. I'm like, I'm not sorry. I'm like, that's, I find that disgusting. I do. I was like, oh. It was a good thing I hadn't had anything to eat prior to me showing up between the doctor's office and, going to the hospital to see Tony. And it's just, and Tony forgets that I was stressed out from just driving, because, and that's something that's been going on around here lately, in addition to the, smog and smoke and nastiness outside from the wildfires up there in Canada, is people have just gone loco. I mean, they're all just like driving like maniacs. And I'm like, I don't need that today. It's like, not today, Satan. I mean, it was not the birthday I wanted to have last Tuesday, to be honest with you. I mean, that's how I really truly feel. Yeah, I'm just like, seriously. That is not what I wanted for my birthday. No, thank you. No, thank you. Well, then, a little while later, after I finished visiting with Tony, I went and seen my mom. Yeah, and there was a couple of folks, at Mom's house visiting with her when I got there. Just because I hadn't seen, it's like, it was my birthday, and I knew Mom wanted to see me. And that was the main reason why I went, was because I knew Mom wanted to see me. Well, she kept going about, I want to know what's going on with Tony's foot. Okay, you want to know so bad, here you go. And I pulled out that picture, and I showed her, and I'm like, I said, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. That's something you always used to say to me when I was a kid, Mom. There you go. Now, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it, and you won't like it. There was somebody there going, I don't need to know what it looks like. Well, then don't look. It's like, don't look. I wasn't going to show you anyway, because, I knew that person can't handle stuff. It's like, because one time I was sitting around with Mom and Dad, this other person, and like a couple other people, and this was like years ago, before this whole mess with Tony's foot started. And this was back when Tony had a real bad abscess in his back. It was like 2017. And I'm like, Tony, it was like this big slide about that wide, about this deep, and it was like, it was coming out of the back of his shirt, and you could smell it. And I'm like, sitting there just casually talking about it. And this person is getting grossed out. And I'm like, it smells like, I was like, it smells horrible. It's like, it smells like, it just smells just awful. It's like, but I was like, yeah. And, the doctor was draining it out of his back, and it looked like snot, bloody snot coming out of his back. And this person was, this person was like, they're like, oh my God, stop talking about that. And I'm like, why? I'm like, why? It's like, I'm like, don't listen. If you don't want to hear what me answering Mom and Dad's question about, what's going on with Tony, and like what happened and what was it, and, what did they do, and how, like, what happened, and I'm answering the question. I was like, if you don't want to hear it, just say, excuse me, I'm going to walk out of the room. That's how I feel about it. It's like, what, folks? It's like, if I go to start talking about, like the nastiness with Tony's foot or Tony's back or something gross going on with it, if you don't want to hear it, don't. Just excuse yourself and walk out of the room. And the same thing about, what I've just described in this video. If you don't like hearing what I just described, you're more than welcome to fast forward through all of what I've said so far. You'll live. There's worse things, there is. And, it's like funny is, like I said, back on Sunday, Tony finished off his medication. Like he finished off the last of his antibiotics. Well, and there is one thing, and I have to mention that with the antibiotics, right? I have to sit here and think about this. Right here, like in his, like, right shoulder, he had a PICC line, a tunnel PICC line put in. I think I might have mentioned that in a previous video. Well, they had to take that out of him yesterday. And it's I think I might have mentioned this in a previous video as well. But it kept bleeding. It's like, back when he was over in Edgewood at the other hospital, and they put that sucker in him, it bled and bled and bled and bled and bled like a stuck pig. He bled like a stuck pig. And, and it's just, like, they had to redo it a few times. And, like, they redid it for him, Thursday? And, it didn't bleed or anything. Like, they finally, like, when they got him to where he was up till, yesterday, which I'm getting to that in just a second, they were pretty good about keeping that from bleeding, and it didn't bleed the whole time. Well, anyway, well, we're talking Monday, the 12th. Well, I am there like I would normally come in like the evening. And when I say the evening, I'm talking like I'd be there between like 5 and 8 p.m. And 8 p.m. is the cutoff time to go home. That's like everywhere, apparently. You know, like they kick everybody out at like 8 p.m. Well, you know, I'd go there between like 5 and 8 p.m. because, you know, be there like in the evening. It's just because I just don't feel like dealing with the crowds. And, you know, it's like, you know, most people have left and it made it easier for me to find a closer parking spot. You know, because it is what it is. Well, on Monday, I had to be up with the chickens. Because, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I was having problems with my left foot. I had a podiatrist appointment Monday morning. Like, you know, like we're talking like 9 a.m. And it's just like, and I have to say that podiatrist I saw on Monday, he was awesome. He was. And it's like, I thought I had plantar fasciitis in my foot. Because it did. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I kept feeling like I was walking on razor blades. And it hurt. And it's just like, it was just like, you know, the arch of my foot, it just kept, you know, ugh. And it just hurt. It's like it hurt to stand, hurt to walk. It was awful. You know, and it's just like it would radiate up my leg and into my hip. And there'd be, like at night, I have to tell you, like I couldn't sleep at night. It was so bad. And that's why I have a lot of sleeping issues. And that's also part of the reason why I'd be seeing Tony in the evening is because I have to go to sleep I have to sleep at some point. You know, I'm sorry to those of you that think I need to be awake 24/7 to make everybody else happy. Not happening. And it's like I'd finally get to sleep. Well, I'll tell you something. Monday, I got a steroid shot in the foot. And if you've never had that done, let me tell you what. That hurts like it hurts like the devil. I mean, he sprayed my foot down with numbing stuff. He shoved that needle in my foot. And I'm like, I felt every second of it. And I'm like bearing down on that chair and I'm going, Rrr! And I'm like, I don't know what hurts worse. I was like thinking, I don't know what hurts worse, the needle in my foot or the razor blade I was walking on. I'm like, oh my God, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, that hurts so bad. And I'm like, the doctor could tell I was ready to I was just growling. I'm like, ugh. And I'll tell you what, he said, the good news is I don't have plantar fasciitis. I just have some mild nerve damage in my foot and some soft tissue damage. But that's it. He says, your feet look great, all things considered. He's like, you know, I can tell that you at least attempt to take care of yourself. You know, or at least you attempt to take good care of your feet. And he's like, you know, there's a couple of dry skin patches, but, you know, that's nothing to get too worked up over. He's like, you know, just, you know, put some lotion on it and, you know, keep taking good care. He's like, this is, you know, considering that your feet are in pain, you know, and everything, he's like, I can tell that you're at least trying to take good care of yourself. And I'm like thinking, well, thank God for something. I was like, at least that's one good thing that I've had said to me in the last 2 months. It is. That was one good thing. But I tell you what, that steroid shot hurt. Oh my God, did it hurt. I'm like, oh God, you know, I was just like, oh. But he put like a Band-Aid like right across here on my foot. I ended up walking strange. Once I managed to get, like, once he got that shot out of me, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Jesus Christ, help all of us. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, that hurt. I was like, I had to sit there for a minute. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, you could go put your socks and shoes on. And I looked at him. Oh, okay. Am I thinking, give me a minute. Yeah, let me figure out where my foot went. It's like all of a sudden, it's like all I knew was I couldn't tell what was going on with my foot. It was numb. You know, it went numb on me. I'm like, okay. Well, you're going to have to give me a minute. You know, I managed to get up and walk over. Very funny, I walked funny, but I managed to waddle over to get my socks and shoes, put them on my feet. Took me a little bit of wrestling around with them. Got my socks and shoes on my feet, and I managed to get turned around in the doctor's office. And I'm like I had to find a nurse. I'm like, how do I get out of here? I got in, now I want to get out. And she said, oh, that way. And I'm like, okay. And I just kind of, just drunk walk. I walked like a penguin, because I tell you what, the whole bottom of my left foot was just it's just, I was like, okay. I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's like, it felt weird. I was like, it hurt. It was like, I felt like I still had that needle embedded in the bottom of my foot. And I'm like, just bopping on down the road. And I'm like, okay, here I come, very slowly, because that foot feels weird, I'm like, just shut your mouth, rub some dirt on it, come on. Okay. Yeah, and it's like, I got to the checkout, and they're like, here he comes. It's like, I gotta tell you what, though, and this is the crazy part. You know how I mentioned I took a picture of Tony's foot on my birthday. I think I forgot to mention that earlier, but this is an aside. I'm at the podiatrist's office on Monday, and I showed that doctor a picture of Tony's foot, and the doctor got all excited about it. I'm like, dude, he's like, so how's things been going in your life? I'm like, well, since April 16th, I've been dealing with my crazy husband and his foot. And I showed him what it looked like on my birthday. I told him, I said, this is what his foot looked like on Tuesday last week. I was like, on my birthday, yay me. And he's like, oh, that looks so good. I'm like, I don't think so. If you say so, dude, I'm like, I would rather not look at it. It's like TMI, man. But that was like the funniest part of it all. Is the doctor was like, oh, look at that good looking foot. I'm like, honey, a good looking foot is my right foot right now. I'm fascinated with my own right foot, because my left foot's swelled up and my right one's normal looking, and I would rather look at my own feet. Not to sound conceited. I like my own feet right now because I have 10 toes. I like looking at all 10 of my little piggies. My husband's short 5, so, I'm like, okay, dude. I'm like, all right, if you say so, dude. I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it, doctor. You're the podiatrist. I'm not, but I'm just like, but yeah, it was so funny that the podiatrist thought I was like awesome looking. I'm like, dude. I'm like, well, he's up at the hospital if you want to go get an eyeful. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay. But, okay, now we got to get to Monday. Okay, I'm still talking Monday. Okay, I managed to waddle out, get my socks and shoes on, and waddle on outside. I'll tell you what, it's a good thing I have a handicap placard, because I have problems with my legs, and it takes a lot out of me to walk from my car to the door, and to the door to wherever. Well, the doctor's office was near the former Beverly Hills Supper Club fire location. It's like the Beverly Hills Supper Club site was behind this doctor's office. I mean, I'd been in this doctor's office before. It's like Southgate, Fort Thomas. And I was like, well, I'm just going to run up and see Tony since I'm down this way. Anyhow. Well, what winds up happening is I managed to, I'll tell you what, I felt like I had to park like on the butt crack of the moon. I may as well have, because I'm like, of all the days that I have to park a big long distance away and walk, is the one day I went and see the podiatrist and I've had a shot in my foot. Yeah, it's like I just was like, I wished I was dead by the time I got into the hospital. I'm like, I had to sit down. I'm like, my foot hurts. My foot hurts. I'm not having fun. I hurt. I thought, oh God, it's just, my foot hurts. And I was not in the mood for people. I wasn't. I was like, I am not in the mood for you people today. I tell you what. I mean, I got in there. I got upstairs and I looked at Tony and I told him, well, I had heard that they were going to send him to the rehab on Monday. That's exactly what happened. They sent his happy butt to rehab, to the regular rehab. No, I make it sound like I tease him. I'm like, when you finally do get to the actual rehab, you're going to be like Amy Winehouse, you're going to be in rehab. Well, since Monday, surprise, surprise, Tony's been in rehab. But here's the thing. He's in rehab over there by the Edgewood Hospital. So he's been in Fort Thomas twice, and now he's been in Edgewood twice. The rehab where he is isn't in the Edgewood Hospital. It's like in a building like across the street and down a little bit past the cancer center over there at the Edgewood Hospital. So he's, and I have experience with that rehab. Somebody else I know was there, and it's, we had that person had a decent experience at the rehab. So we're, down well, now that it's, 12:15 in the morning on June 14th, well, surprise, surprise, yesterday, the 13th, Tony, as I mentioned, has a ski boot thing, and he'd been trying to stand up, he'd been, like, at the hospital he was at up until Monday, got him a ski boot, and they were trying to help him stand up, and he was like, he got the boot on, great, and he tried to stand up, and he was just really weak. Mind you, he's been able to sit on the edge of the bed, no problem, he can sit on the edge of the bed, sits up just fine, but he hasn't actually stood up. He hasn't stood up on his own or stood up at all since April 15th. Well, guess what? Yesterday on Tuesday the 13th, he stood up. There's that. And then he took at least 40 steps. 40 steps, I'm not kidding. He took 40 steps. He was in physical therapy. They got him up. They got him out of bed. They stood him up. They stood his happy ass up with that ski boot on. Honestly. And he walked. Yay, Tony. I have to tell you, I am so proud of him. He walked. But yeah, he actually walked. And he said he was so excited to finally not only, get out of the bed and actually stand up. They put him on those balance, had him hold on to those balance beams so he could, he's got to learn to re-walk at this point. It's granted what happened to me in 2019 isn't the same animal as, Tony, who now has no toes. But, it is one of those things where, I'm proud of him. I have to say, and this is the good news. I know I had to back up and tell a lot of, everything else since, May, the end of May, since Memorial Day. But yeah, and granted I've kind of prayed it on, but it's 3 weeks worth of stuff basically. But yeah, as of right now, he's walked, he's gotten out of bed. He's not, they're not going to let him go tomorrow on Thursday or something. He's just now starting rehab in earnest. So, he's gotten out of bed, he's stood up, he's taken some steps. He's excited. I'm excited for him. But, and I'm sure y'all are probably wondering, why I haven't named the GoFundMe page or anything like that. Well, I'm getting to that. What it is with I'm not canceling the GoFundMe. I'm not. I am going to, like I've done with the other videos, I'm going to include the GoFundMe here on the description of this video. And I'm also going to include the link for the Barnes & Noble version of my book. Just because, I'll tell you why. Amazon gets enough money from everybody. And I figure, send it to Barnes & Noble, just because, give Amazon a bit of a run for their money. Send it to somebody else. And the other thing is, and this is something with Barnes & Noble, and I mentioned this in a previous video, well, at least 2 other videos. And in fact, I know I did shot a video back in like the beginning of April, end of March, where I was at the Barnes & Noble in Florence. If you want to actually go to, like, say there's a Barnes & Noble near you, like the one out in Florence, Kentucky, or like say there's one in Columbus, Ohio, or Detroit, or Toledo, or wherever you are, if there's one near you, you can actually go in to the Barnes & Noble if you write down the ISBN number for my book, which is included in the link, or like you call them up, like write that number down, or like take it in there with you and say, hey, can you order me this book with ISBN, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or like whatever it is. And if you give them the ISBN number, they, can pull it up and go, oh yeah, like that, like they'll tell you, they'll have to order it. They don't keep it on hand, but yeah, you can actually do that. I actually know of somebody who, that I know personally offline, that actually did that when I told them, hey, listen, you can actually go to the Barnes & Noble out in Florence and order the book from them, and they can actually order it, and you can go to the store and pick it up. Because I know that there's some people out there in the world that, would rather go to the store and buy it, that's part of the reason why I'm talking about it, here, is so that way y'all know, hey, you can actually, if you get a hold of the Barnes & Noble near you, you can call them up and tell them, hey, I would like to order 50 copies or, like 20 copies of a book. Can you order it for me? I have the ISBN number, which will make it faster for you to find it, and they can do that for you. And I've actually talked to somebody on the phone and said, at that Barnes & Noble previously, I'm like, well, I have the ISBN number. And they're like, great, let me have it. Yeah, I mean, that's something you can do. And please, buy copies of my book. But one other thing, and I have to go back to the GoFundMe page. And I want to say this, at this point, the bills are starting to come in from where Tony's been in the hospital for the last month. And if you can't give online, or you don't feel comfortable giving online, and I know I think I mentioned this in one of the other videos. If you want, and you see this video on like Facebook or YouTube or what have you, well, if you're friends with me on Facebook and you happen to see this, I am me, and tell me, hey, I don't feel comfortable giving online to GoFundMe. Can I send you, money or whatever, or, can I meet you and, like pay a bill for you, or, is there anything, financial that you need help with, or, anything you need me to help you with other than that, whatever. I mean, that's fine. And I'll work that out with you. But, I would, not to sound like I'm begging, I'm kind of am, but, it's like, if nothing else, and I told somebody I know this, that lives up in New Jersey, please share the GoFundMe, if nothing else, and, if you can give, otherwise, please share it, You know, maybe somebody else who can give will. And that's what I'm getting at. You know, I mean, even if the person lives in France or South Africa or Australia or something, you know, I mean, you know, that would help out. You know, it would. It's not like I'm not begging, okay? It's just, I'm saying if you want to help out and you can, hey, great. You know, I mean, you can help out by sharing, or if you're financially able to give, that would be great to help out because, you know, the bill, like I said, the medical bills are coming in, and I know right now, there's one that's well north of $3,000 already. You know, and, you know, it'd be great if I could get help, you know, with stuff. And one other thing, and I feel like I need to point this out at this point, and this is how I feel about it. There's somebody, and I'm not going to call the person out on here because it would cause a stink. There's at least one person I know of, and I'm not very close to the person. It's like an acquaintance of somebody else I know. Has made comments about, well, you know, if I was to give her, meaning me, you know, if they were to help me out, me and Tony out, Tony and myself out, you know, it would be a quote-unquote loan, you know, and they would expect us to pay them back. I'm like, why help us out then? You know, it's like, it's not that, like, Tony and I do not want a loan. You know, if you want to help us out, that's great, but, you know, just realize that we're not asking for loans. You know, we would rather you not help us out. You know, I don't want a loan, or, well, it's not necessarily a gift. I mean, it is a gift at this point, but, you know, it's like, if you can help us out, I mean, even if it's, you know, to get me like a gift card to like a gas station or food, you know, to like Myers or Kroger's or something so I can get groceries, that's great. You know, that would help us out too. You know, and that's the thing. That's what I'm getting at. Is like, you know, if you don't want to help us out like by paying a bill or whatever, you know, or, you know, contributing to the GoFundMe, you know, you can send us, you know, a gift card to like Myers or Kroger's, you know, and you know, or offer to like pay, you know, pay like for like you know, for like, give me a gift card for like, say, enough to pay for like, say, 4 fill-ups of gas or whatever somewhere, you know, at a gas station of my choice or something, you know, for example. But anyway, with that said, you know, I just had all of this stuff I wanted to share. But anyway, I've talked for long enough here. So, I want to thank you all for watching. And like I said in the other videos, you know, if you can give. But, you know, don't lecture us on, you know, like, well, you need to be doing this, or, you know, you need to get a job, or, you know, it's like, look, you don't know what all is going on, okay? You don't know the whole story, and that's the thing. I haven't told everything in this video. I'm just sharing, like, you know, some highlights and stuff, you know, and just letting folks that I haven't seen, you know, or talked to on the phone know what's going on, mainly. But anyway, I'm going to pause here. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. All right? Bye.